You know, that first spark. It's fascinating how it both feels universal and completely unique at the same time. That moment when you see someone and boom, you just feel it. Scientists like to call this stage initial attraction. But Michael, let's get real here. What goes through your head in that instant?
Man, it's wild. You're just like caught off guard, you know. I remember my first crush. I was, 15? And there was this girl at church. I'm talking angelic smile, long braids. It was like she had a glow around her. Next thing I know, my palms are sweaty, heart's racing, and I could barely keep my words straight, like my whole body betrayed me.
Oh, I think everyone's been there. Those almost involuntary physical reactions. A quickened heart rate, muscle tension, maybe even a little skin flush. It's dopamine and other feel-good chemicals flooding the brain, right? But you just mentioned her smile, her braids. Do you think it was purely physical? Or do you reckon there was something deeper going on?
Nah. See, back then I thought it was something deeper. But let's be honest, it's pure instinct at that point. We all want to overthink it. Maybe it's love, we tell ourselves, but really it's your biology kicking in, lighting you up like a Christmas tree. It's surface level. Instinct doesn't do depth, man.
That's interesting, though, because instinct does serve a purpose, right? It's prepping you, pushing you to connect. But I wonder, do those initial attractions ever hint at something more? Or is it, as you said, just skin deep?
Look, I think it's 99% physical at that point. Chemistry, hormones, all that. But maybe there's like 1% that goes deeper. Like, I think some part of us recognizes qualities we vibe with. We just don't realize it yet. Maybe it's intuition. But man, it's still mostly the way they walk or smile that gets your attention first.
Yeah, and let's not overlook how primal this stage really is. I mean, neuroscientists say it's purely about biology. Dopamine hits, instinctive attraction. But isn't it so often mistaken for love? That's what makes this stage tricky. It can make people jump to conclusions about the depth of a connection that might not really exist yet.
Exactly. People get caught up like you're just attracted. You don't know them. We fall in love with ideas, not the person. But listen, this stage can still be fun. You just got to know what it is, not fall for that fantasy.
You know, Michael, talking about those early sparks, how instinct drives attraction, it reminds me of this relationship I had. At first, it was all chemistry. Intense, electric, felt larger than life. I even thought it was love. But looking back, it was pure infatuation. And then it shifted, becoming something almost all-consuming. Ever felt a connection that took you by surprise like that?
Man, you're describing half the relationships I see these days. People get stuck on that high, you know? It feels like magic, but it's obsession taking over. I've been there too. It's not pretty when you realize it.
Obsession, yeah. That's the thing. It sneaks up on you. Scientists say it's actually hormonal. You've got norepinephrine flooding your brain, giving you that electric feeling, and dopamine feeding that non-stop mental loop about the person. It's addictive.
Right. And it clouds everything. You're not seeing the person, you're seeing your idea of them. It's like putting them on a pedestal, ignoring all the flaws that are right in front of your face. At that point, you're basically setting yourself up for trouble.
Exactly. And it doesn't help that your body's throwing testosterone or estrogen into the mix, amping everything up even further. Your whole brain is wired to crave this person. But what's crazy is how obsession creates this tunnel vision. You start focusing on them so much that you lose sight of reality.
That tunnel vision, dude, dangerous. It's like you're living in a fantasy world, and when reality hits, it hits hard. People don't know how to deal with it. That's why so many relationships crash right after this stage. Either you grow or it ends in chaos.
Well, yeah, because obsession isn't sustainable. It's exciting, sure, but it's exhausting too. I think it's why this stage is so tricky. People fall for the excitement, but they don't realize that the fantasy isn't real. Breaking out of that mindset, it's a whole other challenge.
And here's the thing most people don't want to hear. You got to take a step back, slow down, ask yourself, is this real or just my hormones talking? But man, that's hard to do when you're in deep.
Yeah, slowing down. Easier said than done. But if you don't, you risk getting stuck. And that's the danger, right? People don't want to confront the possibility that their obsession might not lead to that deep, meaningful connection they're hoping for. You know, it's funny. Coming out of that tunnel vision we talked about before, disillusionment feels like hitting a wall, doesn't it? It's when the cracks start showing and you begin seeing the relationship for what it truly is. I think a lot of people find this stage terrifying, especially when reality shatters the fantasy they've been clinging to. What do you think, Michael? Why is it so hard for people to face that truth?
Because it's like, man, you're forced to face the truth about them and about yourself, and people don't want to do that. It's easier to stay in the fantasy than admit, hey, maybe this thing isn't going to work out. And listen, that hurts. It messes with your pride, your insecurities, makes you feel bare, you know?
Right, yeah. It's a vulnerable place to be. And yet, that vulnerability can either build a stronger connection or show you that the relationship doesn't have a real foundation. What's wild is that oxytocin, the bonding hormone, actually steps in during this phase, trying to shift the focus from attraction to connection. But like you said, not everyone's ready to take that step.
Exactly. And honestly, you got to be willing to do the work. That means being honest with yourself, calling out patterns that ain't healthy. And man, this is a big one, taking accountability for your own baggage. You can't just point fingers when things go south.
That's such a good point. It's not just about the other person. It's about how you show up in the relationship too. You've mentioned your faith before and how self-awareness played a role in your own experiences. How did those things help you move through disillusionment in the past?
Faith? Yeah, man, faith's everything. It keeps me grounded. It's like I've got to trust that there's a bigger plan, even when things feel like they're falling apart. And self-awareness, that's where the real work happens. You got to ask hard questions. Am I being fair? Am I projecting my issues onto them? You got to face your junk head on. Without that, man, you're just going to repeat the same mistakes.
That's powerful. And you know, when you do that work, when you push through that discomfort, you can actually reach something deeper. Call it resolution, or maybe transformation. But that's the stage where emotional intimacy takes the lead. It's no longer about the rush of attraction. It's about finding meaning, building trust, and understanding each other on a real level.
Yeah, but let's not sugarcoat it. It's tough. It takes patience, consistency, and a willingness to see and accept the messy parts of someone. But trust me, when you get there, it's worth it. And listen, if it turns out the connection ain't there, that's okay too. Recognizing it and moving on, that's growth, that's maturity.
Absolutely. Not every relationship is meant to last, and that's not a failure. Sometimes letting go is the healthiest choice you can make, for both people. And whether it's a deepening connection or a parting of ways, there's growth in both outcomes. Just learning to let the haze of lust clear and choosing to face the truth with intention, that's the real takeaway.
Yeah, man. At the end of the day, it's about stepping into something real, whether that's a better relationship or a better version of yourself. Either way, you win.
And that's the perfect note to end on. Thanks for sharing your insights today, Michael. It's always great to tackle these topics with you. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. Keep asking the tough questions, keep growing, and we'll catch you on the next episode.